What's up, y'all? It's your girl S to the C Scorpio. Download, you already know, on iTunes. You already know. But we're going to do something a little bit different today, guys. Today, we're going to talk about growing up South Central. Check out the Cali hat, you know what I'm saying? Everything random. We don't pop the tags off. We keep them on. But anyway, that's my music playing in the background. I told Alexa to play my music, and she put Scorpio on. So it's your girl S to the C Scorpio, S to the C twerk goddess. If you was wondering what the S to the C for, what it means, I'm from South Central, born and raised. So today we're gonna talk a little bit about the history of South Central and some of the things that I survived growing up. Now, I know y'all used to this love and light and, chosen ones and, mental health awareness and things like that. That's very important too, but you need to know where you came from to know where you're going, right? So when I think about growing up in South Central, I say, you know what, today we're going to do something a little bit different. I need all my Eastside babies to pay attention. Y'all already know what time it is. But I need my Eastside babies specifically to pay attention. So this is a educational history lesson on South Central. And I am certified South Central, so that I am one of the people that could bring you this information, right? So growing up South Central, what do I think about when I think about South Central? I think about history. I think about legacy. I think about the Black Panthers, which they started, Black unity, Black order, right? So it was the Black Panthers were in full effect before gangs, Bloods and Crips, right? So what happened? And I'm not talking about the movie Black Panther. I'm talking about real life Black Panthers. What happened to them? Well, a lot happened. You could look them up. Some are still alive. Some were killed by law enforcement. Some are in prison for long term. Some are trying to get released from prison. It's just, stay tuned. Okay, hang in there. But anyways, so when I think about South Central, I think about gangs, drugs, guns, police dogs, crime, corruption, menace to society, crackheads, crack babies, Rodney King, LA riots, shootouts, shoot back, get right, get back, drive-bys, narcotics, homicide, robberies, plots, twists, inside jobs, informants, rats, snakes, the homies, shady niggas, wiretaps, hip-hop, rap, bars. You already know. Did we say cricket cops? Did we say corruption? Okay. So these are some of the things that come to mind when we think about South Central. Again, born and raised in South Central. So we get into a little bit about the Watts riots. Go download No Mercy, Scorpio No Mercy. You can listen on Spotify. You can find it on YouTube. Go download my stuff, y'all. So, Black Panthers, what happened? Well, infiltration, basically they were infiltrated. They were considered terrorists. Quick history fact about the Black Panthers. They started the first WIC program. So that's how unified and organized they were as an organization. They actually provided meals to those in need, right? So they were really a community-based organization where they looked out for the community that was in need. So how do we get from there to Bloods and Crips, gang-banging ass niggas? Well, after they were dismantled, the Bloods and the Crips came along. But in that, the drug epidemic. So drugs been around, you know, since the beginning of time. But it really became an epidemic in South Central in like the 80s, late 70s, early 80s. So with that, you know, crack cocaine is a very dangerous narcotic. People have done all kind of crimes, all kind of evil acts off of this drug. The drug was actually allegedly made in a lab, right? So it's actually from the cocoa plant. So we got to ask ourselves these questions like, what countries grow these plants? Like the coca plant, the poppy seed plant, they're not grown in America. So when we talk about illegal drugs in our country, how did they get here? Black people didn't own boats at that time. Y'all gotta go download No Mercy. I can't never say it. Y'all gotta go download No Mercy. But anyways, the drugs came here. And so when the drugs came here, that caused a really big problem in our community. Families were broken up. You know, families were destroyed. People lost their lives as a result of it. People was killed behind this drug. You know, the violence increased in South Central based on this drug in our community. So the gangs got together to get along and to, you know, protect their territory, which at that time, a lot of people really didn't own property like that. So these gangbangers that were claiming certain sets and certain hoods and streets and stuff, like they didn't really own anything, right? That would lead us into the whole Nipsey Hussle thing, but we'll get to that later, or we'll save that for another video. However, so in the 80s, it was a lot of gang violence. It was a lot of crime, drive-bys, different things like that. Fast forward, Rodney King. So this past weekend marked the 30-year anniversary of the Rodney King riots. Well, what happened was you had this black man driving through Simi Valley in his Honda. He was off that PCP, that water, that wet daddy, that Sherm, allegedly, according to the court documents, right? So Rodney King was off PCP, rolling through Simi Valley, LAPD, and he was stopped. Now, mysteriously, somebody was in the bushes with a camera. So they got it on tape, right? So that was in the 90s. You know, police beatings. That was primarily our first introduction as a city, as a state, to a police beating on videotape. I'm not saying that was the first one, but I'm saying that was like the first introduction to it. Now, somebody mysteriously in the bushes videotaping the police beat the shit out of Rodney King, right? He would have died at that time had he not been on PCP. PCP, I've heard, make niggas feel like Superman, right? So a lot of these crimes in our community was committed by people on PCP and other illicit narcotics. So Rodney King's getting beat in Simi Valley by LAPD. The video reaches the streets or the mainstream media or the news or whatever you want to call it. And basically, the officers were investigated and it went to trial. Now, here's where shit gets deep. They had all the evidence that they beat that man. He's on camera. They on camera beating him. So, when the verdict came out in 1992, it's like everywhere you went was playing the TV. Everywhere you went, the news was on. They were showing the verdict. Like everybody was amped up about this case already because black people felt like we've already had the short end of the stick, and you know, we've already experienced racism, injustice, you know, all kind of discrepancies with the justice system, you know, black people was like at their wits end, right? So the footage comes out, the trial is, you know, announced, the verdict comes in. So everybody's waiting for the verdict this particular day. And they playing it at the liquor store, they playing it everywhere. So the riots in South Central LA, because of the Rodney King beating, it head off. It got turned up on the intersection of Florence and Normandy. So that's when Reginald Denny got pulled up out the big rig, because everybody heard the verdict, and it was just like, oh no, this shit is not going down. Like, no, we're not having this. We tired. So what happened was niggas just went crazy. Like, niggas got turned up, and Reginald Denny got pulled out of his big rig. He was at the wrong place at the wrong time. He was at the intersection on Florence and Normandy, and they dragged him up out that bitch, beat the fuck out of him for the officers being Rodney King. Now, that was fucked up. It was. That was fucked up. Which I did to Reginald Denny, because just because he was a white boy, like, he didn't have nothing to do with that. That was the LAPD, right? So my city went crazy for, I don't even know how long. It was probably a week. Helicopters, military, National Guard, lockdowns, shutdowns, stay in your house. Niggas was still outside at the Western Surplus on Western. Got all the guns. Niggas was at the liquor store getting all the liquor. Niggas was burning shit up, tearing shit up. We was at the swap meet. Not we, because I was a child. Well, you know what I'm saying? We was trying to do our shit too, because at that point, it was just like, fuck it, we fucked up out here. We need some shit. So, it is two sides. Like, when devastating events occur in the neighborhoods turn up, because they tend to tear up their own communities. Now, the flip side to that is people had groceries. As a result of this, people had diapers, and it wasn't just black people. The SAs, the Mexicans, they was caught on camera getting shit too. The Asian people, that they was doing jobs on their own property. Insurance, yes. Okay. So it wasn't just black people. And so when we have these turn-ups in cities and different things like that, it's not just black people. So y'all need to stop labeling it as like, oh, it's just the black people when looting and robbing and tearing up their stuff. A lot of times, no, that's not the case. So anyway, yeah, they was getting diapers, baby formula, pawn shops, jewelry stores, guns, whatever. Any same like with George Floyd, low key. People are gonna go get the resources that they need to enhance their life, to make their life better. No, police is coming out. You can't call 911. National Guard driving down the street in the tank and the bulldozers. What you gonna do? So people in South Central went into survival mode at that time. Probably before then, but the survival mode just kind of like, it's there. The trauma is there. It's not going nowhere. So basically, after, you know, the riots settled down, it was a lot of rebuilding that needed to be done. It's a lot of some stuff from the riots that was 30 years ago still has not been rebuilt in South Central Los Angeles. So I believe the people in law, I believe like the council members and the city government and all those people, I feel like they need to take responsibility to rebuild LA. To rebuild South Central specifically. It's an opportunity zone. And, you know, I don't feel like they've really invested in the community as they should. As a result, I don't feel like they provided the citizens with training and resources and just the things needed to get them back, like, on the right track. So it's a lot of work that needs to be done. Fast forward to today's time, and we see like history kind of repeated itself low key with the whole George Floyd situation in the beginning of the COVID pandemic. But these type of issues and situations are going to continue to happen until changes are made. So the purpose of this video was just to share a little bit about growing up in South Central and some of the stuff that I was subjected to witness. It's not a safe place. If you survive South Central, you could survive anything. Um, we've just seen a lot as far as death, crime, betrayal, hood politics. We already had to deal with these crazy people at the top. But when you deal with hood politics, like, it's survival of the fittest. It really is. And so now there's talks about this whole Nipsey situation. And it's like going back to the Black Panthers, where we was about, edification and uplifting our community and people of color being empowered. It's like, how do we get to this point to where all these tapes are coming out? See, the thing about people and their doings, whether they're good or evil, is gonna come out. And so a lot of my Eastside babies are waking up and putting two and two together. And so I just think it's sad how a lot of people knew Nipsey from my area. People that I know have like really kicked it with him and interacted with him. So they knew him for real. And the story was real. This story is not fake or nothing. The story is real. The story's still there. It's just gated up and stuff. But he was out for change. He was making change. And that's to say that it doesn't matter like your background and where you come from. Anybody could change and anybody could start to do positive to redeem themselves, So, we ain't got on Tukey. We ain't even get on Tukey how Arnold Schwarzenegger killed Tukey, We have a lot of history to unravel when it comes to South Central Los Angeles, California. And so we'll get into that more into my channel, but I just wanted to like briefly talk about the history of South Central and growing up in South Central. And what I'll say before I end this video is that it's not what you do, it's how you do it. And I have some stories about, some things that I've experienced growing up in South Central and, just having a mindset to be different, when everybody's pretty much on the same page. Some of my encounters, some of my experiences, we'll get into that later, but your environment can definitely impact and influence your mindset. A lot of people I grew up with in South Central, they still have this South Central mentality. And that's a good thing. It's not all bad. It can work in your favor if you know how to, utilize it. And so I think that a positive message out of the whole Nipsey Hussle situation is that he came from a dark place. Like, he was on Crenshaw in 60 Hood, if y'all know. And one thing, LA Times article a few years, maybe a couple of decades back, listed the Rolling 60 Crip gang as the most notorious Crip gang in Los Angeles. So we knew that. LA Times published that article over 10 years ago. So yeah, you have to know your history, right? So I think it's unfortunate that Nipsey Hussle changed his life around and, became an entrepreneur. And that's creating jobs in the community. That's reinvesting in the community. That's, just uplifting the people in the community, because if they see that you could do it, then they'll believe in themselves. South Central is no hope there. People don't believe in themselves. So if you come up shining in South Central, you got to get the fuck away. Um, real talk. Um, Not everybody, but a lot of people, they're not going to receive that success and that wealth like mindset, because we come from poverty a lot of times. A lot of times, you know, we come from the struggle. And so when you see someone come up out of that, it's the Willie Lynch syndrome kicks in, and there's just a tendency to hate on that. But I say, uplift those that are making change and creating opportunities and things like that, because it could greatly impact and affect the entire community. So one thing I've learned is you got to want better to do better, you know. And so we'll get more into my journey growing up South Central and all that. But thank you for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. You can comment. I have links so you can stay connected with me via my links. If you want a Cash App like Big Man, hit the Cash App. You could Cash App like Big Man, hit the Cash App. And I'm out. Shout out all my Eastside babies.